aften igen. Jeg har simpelthen valgt at optage 2 episoder lige efter hinanden. Så ja, altså sidste episode, der skete jo det, at det er jo kommet ned og kommet hen til det her sted her, hvor det bor Celeborn og Galadriel. Hvor det er, at det ligesom hurtigt samarbejds Frodo tilbyder, Galadriel tilbyder Sam og Frodo se det her spejl her, hvor det er, at de ligesom kan se en fremtid, men ikke sådan en rigtig fremtid, men de kan vise en fremtid af noget, der det kan også vise fortiden, ved hvad det er. Hvor der er så Frodo her tilbyder Galadriel, hun har jo lavet en af ringene Numenor, jeg tror det hedder Numelo eller andet, hvor der hun kan lyse alt op rundt omkring sig. Men så bliver Frodo ligesom tilbyder hende hans ring, men hun siger, at hun simpelthen bliver for magtfuld af det. Og det tror jeg, man kan noget at gøre med, at hun vil have alt skal være smukt og effekt og yndigt, men derfor bliver det også altid forfærdeligt, fordi hun prøver at skabe et utopi, men intet utopi kan aldrig nogensinde eksistere, fordi hvis det bliver et utopi, så ville det blive et dystopi, i det grundlag, at der altid vil ske noget. Så utopi vil ødelægge sig selv. Det ville det simpelthen gøre, så det vil ske. Og så siger Galadriel så, at det kan man simpelthen ikke, fordi at det kan man bare ikke. Fordi det bliver for magtfuldt, og det vil ikke ske, og så hvis hun gør, fordi hun alt hvad alt skal hele så vil alle blive en slaver, så hun er faktisk egentlig styrer dem. Hun styrer alting. Og så bliver man jo slaver, fordi du bliver tvunget til at elske nogen, hvor du aldrig nogensinde elske dem. Og det kan vi jo ikke have. Man skal elske nogen, fordi man føler det, og det er et valg, man har taget nogle gange. Men jeg vil have alle til at elske hende med tvang. Det kan vi jo ikke have. Så nu læser jeg videre. Chapter 8, Farewell to Lórien. That night the company was again summoned to the chamber of Celeborn, and there the lord and lady greeted them with fair words. At length Celeborn spoke of their departure. Now is the time, he said, when those who wish to continue their quest must harden their hearts and leave this land. Those who no longer wish to go forward may remain here for a while. But wherever they stay or go, none can be sure of peace. For we are come now to the edge of doom. Here those who wish may wait the oncoming of the hour till either the last need of Lórien. Then they may return to their own lands, or else go to the long home of those that fall in battle. There was a silence. They are all resolved to go forward. They are all resolved to go forward, said Galadriel, looking in their eyes. As for me, said Boromir, my way home lies onward and not back. That is true, said Celeborn. But all this company going with you to Minas Tirith? Is all this company going to you with you to Minas Tirith? We have not decided our course. Said Aragorn. Beyond Lórien, I do not know what Gandalf intended to do, but indeed I do not think that even he had any clear purpose. Maybe not, said Celeborn. Yet when you leave this land, you can no longer forget the great river. As some of you know well, it cannot be crossed by travelers with baggage. Between Lórien and Gondor, safe by boat, and are not the bridges of Osgiliath broken down, and all the landings held now by the enemy. On which side will you journey? The way to Minas Tirith lies upon the west, but the straight road of the quest lies east of the river, upon the darker shore. Which shore will you now take? If my advice is heeded, it will be western shore, and if my word is heeded, it will be the western shore and the way to Minas Tirith, answered Boromir. But I'm not the leader of the company. The others said nothing, and Aragorn looked doubtful and troubled. I see that you do not yet know what to do, said Celeborn. It is not my part to choose for you, but I will help you as I may. There are some among you who can handle boats. Legolas, whose folk know the swift forest river, and Boromir of Gondor and Aragorn, the traveller. Aaron Hobbit, cried Merry. Not all of us look on boats as wild horses. My people live by the banks of the Brandywine. That is well, That is well, said Celeborn. Then I will furnish your company with boats. They must be small and light, for if you go far by water, there are places where you will be forced to carry them. You will come to the rapids of San Gibir, and maybe at last to the great falls of Rauros, where the river thunders down from Nen Hithordel. And there are other perils. Boats may make your journey less toilsome for a while, yet they will not give you a counsel. Yet they will not give you counsel. In the end, you must leave them and the river and turn west or east. Aragorn thanked Celeborn many times. The gift of boats comforted him, much not less because there would now be no need to decide his course for some days. The others too looked more hopeful. Whatever perils lay ahead, it seemed better to float down the broad tide of Anduin to meet them, than to plod forward with bent backs. Only Sam was doubtful. He at any rate still thought boats as bad as wild as horses, or worse, and not all the dangers that he had survived made him think better of them. All to be prepared for you and await you at the haven before noon tomorrow, said Celeborn. I will send my people to you in the morning and to help you make ready for the journey. Now we will wish you all a fair night and untroubled sleep. Good night, my friends, said Galadriel. Sleep in peace. Do not trouble your hearts overmuch with thought of the road tonight. Maybe the paths that you each shall tread are already laid before your feet, though you did not see them. Good night. The company now took their leave and returned to the pavilion. Legolas went with them, for this was to be their last night in Lórien, and in spite of the words of Galadriel, they wished to take counsel together. For a long time they debated what they should do, and how it would be best to attempt the fulfilling of their purpose. With the ring they had come to no decision. It was plain that most of them decided to go first to Minas Tirith, and to escape at least for a while from the terror of the enemy. They would have been willing to follow a leader over the river and into the shadow of Mordor, but Frodo spoke no word, and Aragorn was still divided in his mind. His own plan, while Gandalf remained with them, had been to go with Boromir, and with his sword help to deliver Gondor, for he believed that the message of the dreams was a summons, and that the hour had come at last when the heir of Elendil should come forth and strive with Sauron for the mastery. But moreover, the burden of Gandalf had been laid on him, as he knew that he could not now forsake the ring if Frodo refused in the end to go with Boromir. And yet, what help could he or any of the company give to Frodo to walk blindly with him into the darkness? I shall go to Minas Tirith alone if need be, for it is my duty, said Boromir. And after that he was silent for a while, sitting with his eyes fixed on Frodo, as he was trying to read the halfling's thoughts. At length he spoke again, softly, as he was debating with himself. If you wish only to destroy the ring, he said, then there is little use in war and weapons, and the men of Minas Tirith cannot help. But if you wish to destroy the armed might of the Dark Lord, then it is folly to go without force into his domain, and folly to throw away. He paused suddenly, as he had become aware that he was speaking his thoughts aloud. It will be folly to throw lives away, he ended. It is a choice between defending a strong place and walking openly into the arms of death. At least that is how I see it. Frodo caught something new and strange in Boromir's glance, and it looked out of him. Plainly, Boromir's thought was different from his final words. It would follow to throw away what? The Ring of Power? He had said something like this at the council, but then he had accepted the correction of Elrond. Frodo looked at Aragorn, but he seemed deep in his own thought, and made no sign that he had heeded Boromir's words. And so the debate ended. Merry and Pippin were already asleep, and Sam was nodding. The night was growing old. In the morning, as they were beginning to pack their slender goods. Elves that could speak their tongue came to them and brought them many gifts of food and clothing. For the journey, the food was mostly in the form of very thin cakes, made of a meal that was baked a light brown on the outside, and inside was the color of cream. Gimli took up one of the cakes and looked at it with a doubtful eye. "Cram," he said under his breath, as he broke off a crisp corner and nibbled at it. His expression quickly changed, and he ate all the rest of the cake with relish. No more, cried the elves laughing. "You have eaten enough already for a long day's march." I thought it was only a kind of crumb, such as dull men make for journey in the wild, said the dwarf. "So it is," they answered, "but we call it lambas or rye bread, and it's more strengthening than any food made by men. It is more pleasant than cram, by all accounts." "It is indeed," said Gimli. "Why, is it better than the honey cakes of the Brownings? And that is great praise, for the Brownings are the best bakers I know of, but they are none too willing to deal out their cakes to travelers in these days. You are kindly host." All the same, we bid you spare the food," they said. "Eat little at a time and only at need, for these things are given to serve you when all else fails. The cakes will keep sweet for many, many days, if they are unbroken and left in their leaf wrappings, as if you have brought them. One will keep a traveler on his feet for a day of long labor, even if he be one of the tall men of Minas Tirith." The elves next unwrapped and gave to each of the company the clothes they had brought, for each had provided a hood and a cloak, made according to the size of the light but warm silken stuff that the Galadhrim wove. It was hard to say of what color they were. Grey with the hue of twilight on the trees they seemed to be, and yet if they were moved or set in another light, they were green as shadow leaves, or brown as fallow fields by night. Dusk silver as water under the stars. Each cloak was fastened about the neck with a brooch like green leaf vined with silver. "Are these magic cloaks?" asked Pippin, looking at them with wonder. "I do not know what you mean by that," answered the leader of the elves. "They are fair garments, and the web is good, for it was made in this land. They are elves' robes, certainly, and if that is what you mean. Leaf and branch, water and stone, they have the hue and beauty of all these things on the trial of Lórien that we love, for we put the thought of all that we love into all that we make. Yet they are garments, not armor, and they will not turn shaft or blade, but it should serve you well. They are light to wear and warm enough or cool enough as needed, and you will find them a great aid in the keeping out of the sight of unfriendly eyes. Whether you walk among the stones or the trees, you are indeed high in the favor of the lady, for she herself had her maidens wove this stuff, and never before have we clad strangers in the garb of our own people." After the morning meal, the company said farewell to the lawn by the fountain. Their hearts were heavy, for it was a fair place and it had become like home to them, though they could not count the days and nights they had passed there. As they stood for a moment looking at the white water in the sunlight, Haldir came walking towards them over the green grass of the glade. "Frodo," greeted him with delight. "I have returned from the northern faces," said the elf, "and I am sent now to be your guide again. The dim dell is full of vapor and clouds of smoke, and the mountains are troubled. There are noises in the deeps of the earth. If any of you had thought of returning northwards to your homes, you would not have been able to pass that way. But come, your path now goes south." As I walked towards Galadhorn, the green ways were empty, but in the trees above them many voices were murmuring and singing. They themselves were silently. At last Haldir led them down the southward slopes of the hill, and they had come again to the great gate hung with lamps, and to the white bridge, so they passed out and left the city of the elves. They had turned away from the paved road and took a path that went off into a deep thicket of malon trees, and passed on winding through rolling woodlands of the silver shadow, leading them ever down southwards and eastward towards the shores of the river. They had gone some 10 miles, and noon was at hand when they came on a high green wall. Passing through an opening, they came suddenly out of the trees. Before them they lay a long lawn of shining grass, studded with golden Eleanor that glinted in the sun. The lawn ran out in a narrow tongue between bridge margins, and on the right and west the silver load flowed glittering. On the left and east the great river rolled in its broad waters, deep and dark. On the further shores the woodland still marched on southward as far as the eye could see, but all the banks were bleak and bare. No melon lifted its gold-hung boughs beyond the land of Lórien. On the bank of the silver lode, at some distance up from the meeting of the streams, there was a height of water stones and white wood, but it were moved many boats and moored many boats and barges. Some were brightly painted and shone with silver and gold and green, but most were either white or grey. 3 small grey boats had been made ready for the travellers, and in these the elves stowed their goods, and they added also coils of rope 3 to each boat. Slender they looked, but strong, silken to the touch, grey of hue like the elven clothes. "What are these?" asked Sam, handling one that lay upon the green sword. "Ropes indeed," answered an elf from the boats. "Never travel far without a rope, and one that is long and strong and light, such as these. They may be a help in many needs." You don't need to tell me that," said Sam. "I came without any, and I've been worried ever since, but I was wondering what these were made of. Knowing a bit about rope making is in the family, as you might say." They are made of hitherline," said the elf, "but there is no time now to instruct you in the art of their making. Have you known that this craft delighted you, we could have taught you much. But now, at last, unless you should at some time return hither, you must be content with a gift, and may it serve you well." "Come," said Halia. "All is now ready for you. Enter the boats, but take care first." "Heed the words," said the other elves. "These boats are light-built, and they are crafty, and unlike the boats of other folk. They will not sink, lade them as you will, but they are wayward if mishandled. It be wise if you accustom yourself to stepping in and out. Here where there is a landing place, before you set off downstream." The company was arranged in this way. Aragorn, Frodo, and Sam were in one boat, Boromir, Merry, and Pippin in another, and the third were Legolas and Gimli, who had now become fast friends. In this last boat most of the goods and packs were stowed. The boats were moved and stirred with short-handled paddles that had broad leaf-shaped blades. When all were ready, Aragorn led them on a trail up the silver lode. The current was swift, and they went forward slowly. Sam sat in the bows, clutching the sides and looking back wistfully. To the shore, the sunlight glittering on the water dazzled his eyes. As they passed beyond the green field of the tongue, the trees drew down to the river brink. Here are the golden leaves tossed and floated on the rippling stream. The air was very bright and still, and there was a silence except for the high distant song of larks. They turned a sharp bend in the river, and there, sailing proudly down the stream towards them, they saw a swan of great size. The water rippled on either side of the white breast beneath its curving neck. Its beak shone like burnished gold, and its eyes glittered like jet set in yellow stones. Its huge white wings were half lifted. A music came down the river as it drew nearer, and suddenly they perceived that there was a ship, wrought and carved with elven skill in the likeness of a bird. 2 elves clad in white stirred it with black paddles. In the midst of the vessel sat Celeborn, and behind him stood Galadriel, tall and white, and a circlet of golden flowers was in her hair, and in her hand she held a harp, and she sang, sad and sweet was the sound of her voice in the cool air. A sing of leaves gold, and leaves gold there grew. Of winter sing, a wind came in, and the branches blew. Beyond the sun, beyond the moon, the foam was on the sea. By a strand of Lórien, there grew a golden tree. Beneath the stars of Eve, in Eldamar it shone. In Eldamar, beside the walls of Elventirion, there along the golden leaves have grown upon the branching years, but beyond the shunting seas now fall the elven tears. O Lórien, the winter comes, the bare of leafless days. The leaves are falling in the stream, the river flows away. O Lórien, so long have I dwelt upon this hither shore, and I'm fading crown had twined the golden Eleanor. But if our ships and I shall sing, what ship will come to me? What ship will bear me ever back across so wide a sea? Aragorn stayed his boat as the sworn ship drew alongside. The lady ended her song and greeted them. We have come to bid our last farewell, she said, and to spread you with the blessings of our land. Though you have been our guest, said Celeborn, you have not yet eaten with us, and we bid you therefore to a parting feast here between the flowing waters that will bear you far from Lórien. The swan passed on slowly to the height, and they turned their boats and followed it. There, in the last end of Egladil, upon the green grass, the parting feast was held. But Frodo ate and drank little, heeding only the beauty of the lady and her voice. She seemed no longer perilous or terrible, nor filled with hidden power. Already she seemed to him as by men of later days. It was still at times a seen, present and yet remote, and living vision of that which had already been lifted far behind by the flower streams of time. After eaten and drunk, sitting upon the grass, Celeborn spoke to them again of the journey, and lifting his hands, he pointed south to the woods beyond the tongue. As you go down the river water, he said, you will find that the trees will fail and will come to a barren country. There the river flows in stony vales and amid high moors, until at last, after many leagues, it comes to the tall island of the Tin Rock, that we call Tolbrandir. There it casts its arms about the steep shores of the Isle, and falls then with a great noise as smoke over the cataracts of Faroes, down into the Nindalf, the wet wang, as it is called in your tongue. That is a wide region of sluggish fen, where the stream becomes tortuous and much divided. There the Indwash flows in by many mouths from the forest of Fangorn in the west. About the stream on this side of the great river lies Rohan. On the further side are the bleak hills of the Eminmuil. The wind blows from the east there, for they look out over the dead marshes and the no-man lands, to Seth-Gorgor and the black gates of Mordor. Boromir, and any that go with him seeking Minas Tirith with the will to leave the great river above Rhodos and cross the Indwash before it finds the marches. Yet they should not go too far up the stream, nor risk becoming entangled in the forest of Fangorn. That is strange land, and is now little known, but Boromir and Aragorn doubtless do not need this warning. Indeed. We have heard of Fangorn in Minas Tirith, said Boromir. But what I heard seems to me, for the most part, old wise tales, such as we tell to our children, and all that lies north of Lórien is now to us far away, that fancy can wander freely there. Of old Fangorn they lay upon the borders of our realm, but is now many lives of men since any of us visited it, to prove or disprove the legends that had come down from distant years. I have myself been at whiles in Lórien, but I've never crossed it northwards. When I was sent out as a messenger, I passed through the gap by the skirts of the White Mountains, and crossed the Isen and the Grey Flood into the northern land. A long and wearisome journey, 400 leagues I reckon it. It took me many months, for I lost my horse at Tharbad, at the foreboding of the Grey Flood. After that journey and the road I have trodden with this company, I do not much doubt that I shall find a way through Lórien and Fangorn too, if need be. Then I need say no more, said Celeborn. But do not despise the law that has come down from distant years, for oft it may chance that old wise tales keep in memory word of things that once were needful for the wise to know. Now Galadriel rose from the grass, and taking a cup from one of her maidens, she filled it with white mead and gave it to Celeborn. Now it is time to drink the cup of farewell, she said. Drink, Lord of Galadrim, and let not your heart be sad, though night must follow noon, and already our evening draweth nigh. Then she brought the cup to each of the company, and bade them drink and farewell. But when they had drunk, she commanded them to sit again on the grass, and chairs were set for her and for Celeborn. Her maidens stood silent about her, and a whistle she looked upon her guests. At last she spoke again. We have drunk the cups of parting, she said, and the night and the shadows fall between us. But before I go, I have brought in my ship's gift, with which the Lord and Lady of Galadrim now offer you in memory of Lórien. Then she called to each in turn. Here is the gift of Celeborn and Galadriel to the leader of your company, she said to Aragorn, and she gave him a sheath that she'd been made to fit his sword. It was overlaid with a tracery of flowers and leaves wrought of silver and gold. On it was set in elven runes formed of many gems, the name Andoril and the lineage of the sword. The blade that is drawn from the sheath shall not be stained or broken, even in defeat, she said. But is there aught else that you desire of me at our parting? For darkness will flow between us, and it may be that we shall not meet again, unless it be far hence upon a road that has no returning. And Aragorn answered, Lady, you know all my desire, and long held in keeping the only treasure that I seek. Yet it is not yours to give me, even if you would, and only though darkness shall come to it. Yet maybe this will lighten your heart, said Galadriel, for it was left in my care to be given to you, should you pass through this land. And she lifted from her lap a great stone of a clear green, set in a silver brooch, that was wrought in the likeness of an eagle with outspread wings, and as she held it up, the gem flashed like the sun shining through the leaves of spring. This stone I gave to Celebrian, my daughter. This stone I gave to Celebrian, my daughter, and she to hers. Now I come to you as a token of hope. In this hour take the name that was foretold for you, Elessar, the Earthstone of the house of Elendil. Then Aragorn took the stone and pinned the brooch upon his breast, and those who saw him wondered, for they had not marked before how tall and kingly he stood, and it seemed to them that many years of toil had fallen from his shoulders. For the gifts that you have given me, I thank you, he said. O Lady of Lórien, of whom we sprung Celebrian, and Arvent Evenstar, what praise could I say no more? The lady bowed her head, and she turned them to Boromir, and to him she gave a belt of gold, and to Merry and Pippin she gave small silver belts, each with a clasp wrought like a golden flower. To Legolas she gave a bow such as the Galadriel used, longer and stouter than the bows of Mirkwood, and strung with a string of elf hair. With it went a quiver of arrows. For you, little gardener and lover of trees, she said to Sam, I have only a small gift. She put into his hand a little box of plainly grey wood, unadorned save for a single silver rune upon the lid. Here is a G for Galadriel, she said, but it is also my stand for garden, but also it may stand for garden in your tongue. In this box there is earth from my orchard, and such blessings as Galadriel has still to bestow it upon it. I will not keep you on your road, nor defend you against any peril. But if you keep it and see your home again at last, then perhaps it may reward you. Though you should find all barren and laid waste, there will be few gardens in the Middle Earth that will bloom like your garden. If you sprinkle this earth there, then you may remember Galadriel and catch a glimpse far off of Lórien, that you have seen only in a winter. For our spring and our summer are gone by, and it will never be seen on earth again save in memory. Sam went red to the ears and muttered something inaudible as he clutched the box and bowed as well as he could. And what will you give a dwarf? Ask of the elves. And what gift will a dwarf ask of the elf? And what gift will a dwarf ask of the elves? Said Galadriel, turning to Gimli. None. None later. None later. Answered Gimli. It is not for me to have seen the lady of Galadrim, and to have heard her gentle words. Hear, all ye elves, she cried to those about her. Let none say again that the dwarves are grasping and ungracious. Yet surely, Gimli, son of Lórien, you desire something that I could give. Name it, I bid you. You should not be the only guest without gift. There is nothing, Lady Galadriel, said Gimli, bowing low and stammering. Nothing, unless it may be. Unless it is permitted to ask. Nay, not a single strand of your hair which surpasses the gold of the earth as the stars surpass the gems of the mine. I do not ask for such a gift, but you command me to name my desire. The elves stirred and murmured with astonishment, and Celeborn gazed at the dwarf in wonder. But the lady smiled. It is said that the skill of dwarves is in their hands rather. It is said that the skill of the dwarves is in their hands rather than in their tongues, she said. Yet that is not true of Gimli, for none have ever made to me a request so bold and yet so courteous. And how shall I refuse, since I command him to speak? But tell me, what will you do with such a gift? Treasured, my lady, he answered, in memory of your words to me at the first meeting. As if ever I return to the smithies of my home, I shall be set in imperishable crystal, to be an heirloom of my house, and a place of goodwill between the mountains and the wood until the end of days. And then the lady unbraided one of her long tresses, and cut off 3 golden hairs, and laid them in Gimli's hand. These words go with the gift, she said. I not foretell, for all foretelling is not vain. On the one hand lies darkness, and on the other only hope. But if hope should not fail, then I shall say to you, Gimli, son of Lórien, that your hands shall flow with gold, and yet over your gold shall have no dominion. And you, ring-bearer, she said, turning to Frodo, I come to you, lads who are not last in my thoughts. For you I have prepared this. She held up a small crystal vial, It glittered as she moved it. Rays of white light sprang from her hand. In this vial, she said, is called the light of Erendel's star. She said amid the waters of my fountain, it will shine still brighter when night is about you. May it be a light to you in dark places. When all the lights go out, remember Galadriel and her mirror. Frodo took the vial, and for a moment, as it shone between them, he saw her again, standing like a queen, great and beautiful, but no longer terrible. He bowed, but found no words to say. Now the lady arose, and Celeborn led them back to the height. A yellow noon lay on the green land of their tongue, and the water glittered with silver. All at last was made ready. The comets took their places in the boats as before, crying farewell. The elves of Lórien with long grey poles thrust them out into the flowing stream, and all the rippling waters bore them slowly away. The travellers sat still without moving or speaking. On the green bank near to the very point of the tongue, the lady Galadriel stood alone and silent. As they passed her, they turned, and their eyes watched her slowly floating away from them. For so it seemed to them, Lórien was slithering backward, like a bright ship masted with enchanted trees, sailing on to forgotten shores, while they sat helpless upon the margin of the grey and leafless world. Even as they gazed, the silver load passed out into the currents of the great river, and their boats turned and began to speed southward. Soon the white form of the lady was small and distant. She shone like a window of glass upon a far hill in the westering sun, or as a remote lake seen from a mountain, a crystal floating in the lap of the land. Then it seemed to Frodo that she lifted her arms in a final farewell, and far but piercing clear on the following wind came the sound of her voice singing. But now she sang in the ancient tongue of the elves beyond the sea, and he did not understand the words. Fair was the music, but it did not comfort him. Yet as is the way of elvish words, they remained graven in his memory. As long afterwards he interpreted them as well as he could. The language was that of elven song, and spoke of the things little known of Middle-earth. Ai lori lanta lasiorinen, jeni unotin verra maldorun, jeni via linde uldra arvanir, mi oro marti lise miru vreda, andun pera varato tuluma, moline yesin tinitila I alini, omareo airenti alirienen, si mani yulma nin inquan truva, as si tantala viare uyoloseo, ve fanjera mariad elentari otane, a eliatia undulova lumbule a sintanorielo, saita monie, a setamonie I falmilana, imbemet a hisi untupa, calaxirio miri uyale, si vanvera na romelo vanvera valema, namia nagi hiruvalia valema, nei elia hirva namaria. Like gold falls leaves in the wind, long years numberless. As the wings of trees, the years have passed like swift draughts of the sweet mead in lofty halls beyond the west, and beneath the blue vaults of water remain the stars tremble in the song of her voice, holy and queenly. For who now shall refill the cup for me? For now the kindler Vara, the queen of the stars from Mount Everwhite, has uplifted her hands like clouds, and all the paths are drowned deep in shadow, and out of a grey country darkness lies on the foaming waves. Between us and mist covers the jewels of Calasiria forever. Now lost to those from the east is Valimar. Farewell, maybe thou shalt find Valimar, maybe even thou shalt find it farewell. Vara is the name of that lady whom the elves in these lands of exile name Elbereth. Suddenly the river swept around a bend, and the banks rose upon either side, and the light of Lórien was hidden. To that fair land Frodo never came again. The traveller now turned their faces to the journey. The sun was before them, and their eyes were dazzled, for all were filled with tears. Gimli wept openly. I've long looked last upon that which was fairest, he said to Legolas, his companion. Henceforward I will call nothing fair, unless it by her gift. He put his hand to his breast. Tell me, Legolas, why did I come on this quest? Little do I know where that chief peril lay. Truly Elrond spoke, saying that we could not foresee what we might meet upon a road. Torment in the dark was the danger that I feared, and I did not hold me back. But I would not have come, and had known that danger of flight and joy. Now taking my worst wound in this parting, even if I were to go this night straight to the Dark Lord, alas for Gimli, son of Lórien. Nay, said Legolas, alas for us all, and for all that walk the world in these after days, for such is the way of it. To find and lose it seems to those whose boat is on the running stream. But I count you blessed, Gimli, son of Lórien. For your loss you suffer of your own free will, and you might have chosen otherwise, but you have not forsaken your companions. And the least reward that you should have is that the memory of Lórien shall remain ever clear and unstained in your heart, and shall neither fade nor grow still. Maybe, said Gimli, and I thank you for the words. True words doubtless, yet also comfort is cold. Memory is not what the heart desires, that is only a mirror, but as clear as Kelesarum. And so the heart of Gimli the dwarf. Elves may see things otherwise, indeed. I have heard that for them memory is more like to the walking world than to a dream, not so for dwarves. But let us talk no more of it. Look to the boat. See, she is too low in the water for all this package, and the great river is swift. I do not wish to drown my grief in cold water. He took up a paddle and steered towards the western bank, following Aragorn's boat ahead, which he had already moved out of the middle stream. So the company went on the long way down the wide hurrying waters, borne ever southwards. Bare woods stalked along either bank, and they could not see any glimpse of the lands behind. The breeze died away, and the river flowed without a sound. No voice of bird broke the silence. The sun grew misty as the day grew old, until it gleamed in the pale sky like a high white pearl. Then it faded into the west, and the dusk came early, followed by a grey and starless night. Far into the dark, quiet hours they floated on, guiding the boats under the overhanging shadows of the western woods. Great trees passed by like ghosts, thrusting their twisted, thirsty roots through the mist down into the water. It was dreary and cold. Frodo sat and listened to the faint lap and gurgle of the river, fretting among the trees' roots, and drifted near the shore until his head nodded, and he fell into an uneasy sleep. Det er sådan et dejligt kapitel at læse. Nu tog de så afsted fra ældrestedet og fik en masse gaver af stor betydning. Kæmpe stor betydning for dem alle sammen. De kan bruge det i realiteten virkelig godt, så de fik Galadriel. Altså alt har jo betydning for dem. Merry fik nogle bælter, så de kan passe på alle ting. Boromir fik et guldbælte. Aragorn fik en skede, hedder det jo, til et sværd, der gør en sværd ikke kan ruste, det går i stykker. Legolas fik en bue. Gimli fik hendes hår, men han ville egentlig ikke have noget, og det er småt. Og Frodo fik jo så den her flaske her, der så kunne lyse i mørke, og Sam, der bare så meget holdt af sin have, fik noget jord, der kunne få hans have til at blomstre for evigt. Så det er jo egentlig alle sammen fået noget, de kan bruge, hvilket er ret smukt. Men det er jo egentlig et kort kapitel. Hvor langt er den næste? Kan vi se her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Det var egentlig ikke så meget. Okay. Nå, håber du så godt derude, for det var egentlig den næste episode. Den her godt over at læse ind til faktisk en lidt til kapitel.